Welcome to our weekly discussion of all things current in California politics. I'm Walt Gray, this week joined by reporter Emily Hoeven, political columnist with the San Francisco Chronicle. Emily, always nice to see you here on this Sunday morning discussion. So the Mental Health Services Act, the governor said he wanted substance abuse treatment explicitly used for that, but now his office has dropped that requirement. What's happening with this whole thing?
Yeah, so the governor has this very ambitious proposal to overhaul the main source of county mental health funding. And when he first introduced this idea, which would have to go to the voters in order to be approved, he wanted to rename it the Behavioral Health Services Act and allow that and actually force the counties to also use that money on substance abuse, which, as we know, kind of has contributed to the mental health and homelessness crisis that we're seeing on our streets. But there was a lot of blowback from the counties, concerns about not enough money, lack of flexibility. And so now he's made that optional, which has made a lot of folks wonder, okay, so is it just kind of back to the status quo in some regard?
Right. So the Chronicle also has a story out this weekend about behavioral health. What does it say?
Yeah, so kind of going off of the same theme, the Chronicle just released a first-in-the-nation opioid overdose tracker, which in a way it's ironic that we had to make that because you would think the CDC or another entity would keep this data, but it's just pointing to the fact that the government data on this issue is, very sparse and inaccurate, and it's the same at the state level, at the local level, and so we are basically saying in order for the state to solve the problem, it needs to know what the problem is, and it also needs to be able to evaluate possible solutions. So instead of just throwing billions of dollars at things, we need to know what the issue is and how the best way of solving it. Mm-hmm. And we don't have the data right now to understand the issue completely.
So one thing the Chronicle has allowed you is some space, and I'll bring it up because it's pretty cool. Your beloved cat Potsy passed away, at the age of 18, and you asked if you could write about it, and they said yes.
Yes, it's true. So Potsy passed away about a couple of weeks ago. And, right in the aftermath of that, I was grieving a lot. My whole family and I were grieving. And for me, one of the best ways that I process my emotions and heal is through writing. And so I mentioned to the Chronicle that I, wanted to sort of have a tribute to her and also a tribute to the incredibly important role that animals play in our lives. And oftentimes they are really only the source of unconditional love that we get in a difficult world. And I think a lot of folks realized that during the pandemic when, pet adoptions went through the roof. And so it was just a really lovely opportunity to be able to, remember Potsy, think about her impact on my life, and also just reflect on, how much animals mean to me. And I got a lot of responses from folks that, love their animals and their pets. And it was just a really great experience.
Yeah, I mean, pets are amazing. And I guess I would ask you, based on that, is it better to have lived and loved than never to have loved at all? I mean, when you have a pet, that it's going to end sometime and it's super hard.
It is. I mean, I do think it is, of course, worth it because the joy that they bring to your life, I mean, it's immeasurable. And I actually adopted a cat during the pandemic myself of my own. And sometimes I, think about the future when she's not going to be here. And
right.
it's so painful. But at the same time, I wouldn't trade that at all for the experience of getting to, have her in my life.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of folks who have pets would agree with you on that. Emily, good. I'm glad you had a chance to do that. If you would like to reach out to Emily Hoeven, she's at the San Francisco Chronicle, and her email is emily.hoeven@sfchronicle.com.